Well, before I was into pop music, I was into film music, which probably kicked off with West Side Story because it was people in the later generations don't get what a huge deal West Side Story was.
I wonder if you could talk about, there are certain things that come up a lot when people talk about, some of the influences in Blondie's music. But I wonder if you could talk about, some of the first music that ever really made an impression on you, even as a kid, kind of things that you heard and really liked, and maybe not just music, but, if there were movies or television shows or, things on the radio, that you feel really kind of informed your sensibility and, kind of created the aesthetic and maybe even the person that, you eventually became.
Go ahead.
Me? Well, before I was into pop music, I was into film music, which probably kicked off with West Side Story because it was people in the later generations don't get what a huge deal West Side Story was. It was like unto the Beatles. It was the girls in the theater would be sobbing when Tony was killed at the end. I mean, literally, it was a huge cultural event, West Side Story, and it brought everything up to this other level. Even the music, music stands up. It might sound a little dated by modern standards, but it's still.
No, but the music is so beautiful.
It's still miles above what was going on around it at the time.
I got in a lot of trouble for taking my sister, who at the time was very young, to see West Side Story.
The thing I think that it's hard to get across, for those of you who are, kind of too young to remember, is like kids were really into it. Like it was, in a way that most Broadway plays made into movies now would be kind of an adult thing for the most part. But that was really something that
part of the youth culture. West Side Story was, and that was what, 61, I guess. And then, so shortly thereafter, I had my romance with film scores, and I really liked Mancini and some of the stuff, and then folk music after that. And the Llewyn Davis movie just knocked me out recently. It's just probably my favorite music movie, but it's just a lot to do with my emotional connection with the period because I was a teenager in the middle of all that crap and going down to Washington Square and hanging out in the West Village when I was a kid, So all that stuff, and then shortly thereafter, there's the Beatles. And I thought it was kind of corny for the first 5 minutes, and then when I started listening to the music, I was taken in like everybody else was.